And David Lee, he's hurt now for the Warriors. Uh-oh. Maybe tough sailing for them in Game 2. Will be really tough with no David Lee in Game 2. And probably for the rest of the playoffs. Anyway, folks, we'll come back, some more NBA playoff talk, more NHL talk. We'll talk about Darrell Revis now being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Revis Island is now in Florida. This is Avry Sports Show, Webcast, on livestream.com/Avry Sports. Ciao. Until after the break. And we are back, Avry Sports Show, Webcast, livestream.com/Avry Sports on a Tuesday night in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, planet Earth, the Milky Way of whatever this universe or thing you call it. Anyway, more NBA playoff talk. As we mentioned, the Bucks and the Heat, that's turning into probably a beatdown. Golden State, Denver, a great back and forth Game 1. Then, of course, the Oklahoma City Thunder just went in and roasted the Houston Rockets. Jeez almighty. James Harden and company got whomped 120-91. That was a rough game for them. And of course, the San Antonio Spurs took out the Lakers 91-79 with Kobe Bryant on Twitter tweeting about what the guy should be doing. Kobe says he won't tweet for Game 1. Apparently, Mike D'Antoni was mad that Kobe became the story. Ugh, boy, that's going to be... I just don't see Mike D'Antoni coming back to be head coach at a team again. I do not see D'Antoni back at all. Of course, the big debate was, I should have brought Phil back. And I said it before on the show. How many times do you bring back Phil Jackson? There has to be a certain point where you cannot keep running to Phil and say, Phil, save us, save us. At a certain point, you can't keep doing it. You have to move on. You can't always use him as a savior. Because how will the next coach, how will your franchise eventually move on? Because every coach that comes after him keeps on getting compared. Oh, Mike Brown's no Phil. Oh, when Rui Tomjanovich came in that replaced Phil. Oh, he's not Phil. And he was a legend. Of course, he had to step down because he had heart problems. And Frank Hamlin led that team to the toilet in 04-05. And then, of course, with Brady Bickerstaff, but he was only an interim coach. And then, it's just so silly right now in LA. If they win even one game against the Spurs, I'll honestly be shocked. There's a team right now, and I'll give credit to the Steve Blakes, Dwight Howard, Meta World Peace. They performed admirably in Kobe's absence, but this is a team that is not capable of going past the first round in my mind. Of course, there's a joke coming in with the Spurs. Oh, but they signed Tracy McGrady. He's never gotten out of the first round. Instant LA Lakers win. Yeah, you're not funny. That won't happen. The Spurs right now are on another level. Manu Ginobili's playing well. Tim Duncan's playing well. Tony Parker's playing well. The older guys are stepping up. This is why San Antonio, since 1998, have been a great ball club. And Greg Popovich, this is why he's one of the greatest coaches the NBA has ever seen. Because this team plays consistent. You don't see the Spurs break down. Tim Duncan could be 54 years old and still getting starters minutes for the Spurs. You never know. The dude has just gone in and done his work quietly and put up point after point, drain jumpers, block shots. Hey, he may not be the most vocal guy. He may be kind of boring, but Tim Duncan for 15 years now has gotten the job done and made the Spurs and kept the Spurs as a solid basketball club. They've gone 16 years. 16 seasons of 50 plus wins. What does that tell you? The Spurs are the cream of the crop in the NBA. Or they have been for almost 20 years. Of course, people are going to say, oh, what about the Heat? What about LeBron and those guys? Now, granted, yes, the Heat are good. And they are just rolling on Milwaukee once again. The score right now in Game 2 is 61-33. It's now 63-33. This game is already no contest. The Bucks right now are just clearly outmatched talent-wise by the Miami Heat. Because they do have guys like LeBron, Wade, Bosh, and bench scoring out of guys like Mario Chalmers, Norris Cole. You even have Chris Anderson, the Birdman. You got Juwan Howard when you want him to get on the floor. The Heat are a good team. But everybody says they're going to win 8 titles. No, they're not going to win 8 titles. This is the era of if I can't win here, or if the winning stops here, I'm going to leave. That's the era that the NBA is in and has been for quite some time. Hey, forgive me for bringing up old players, but would you have ever seen Kobe? Would you have ever seen Michael Jordan, Larry, and Charles Barkley on the same team outside the Olympics or in other international tournaments? Heck no! It wouldn't happen. It would not happen because they're too competitive. They did in that era. You could not have 3 or 4 alpha males on one team. The Lakers had it, and granted, the Lakers won with Kobe and Shaq as the 2 alpha males, but they butted heads every single time, and it became an era of Kobe saying either I leave or he leaves, and Shaq left to the Heat, where he won another title in 06 with Miami, ironically enough. So, I mean, I don't think there will be a time where they can't keep that core together. I don't think there'll become a time where Dwayne Wade will want out, or Chris Bosh will want out, or LeBron James will take his talents to maybe, I don't know, Los Angeles. You never know. This is the era. I don't see him sticking around for 8-9 years. I just don't see it happening. Of course, contract-wise, these guys make enough money to feed all of Zimbabwe. And that's not even a joke. I'm being dead serious with the amount of money they have in their salaries. So, the NBA is a very funny place with the 4 or 5 super teams. But what I really hate about this is that people who just eat it up so much and just love the super teams. I love parity. I love teams that are great. Yes, don't get me wrong. I like seeing good teams. But don't you want to see the upsets? Don't you want to see the team that can shock the world? People don't want to see it anymore. Pardon the interruption. Michael Wilbon said, I don't care about the Milwaukees or the Indianas. Let's just get to the second round and move on. I want to see my LeBron against Carmelo Anthony all the time. It'd be great to see the Knicks knock off Miami. But basically, Michael Wilbon is dismissing other teams in the NBA. Doesn't even want to see them play. To dismiss other teams like that, I don't think is great. I think that's terrible. I think it's a poor take. What happens? Although I doubt it'll happen. But say, for example, what would happen if Milwaukee knocked off Miami? Then what? Then what? If the Heat lost to the Bucks, a lot of people would be tugging on their collars. Did I say I didn't want to see Milwaukee move on? I meant Brandon Jennings. How about that point guard? I mean, I think a lot of people would change their tunes real quick if Milwaukee somehow, some way, found a way to beat Miami in 6. Even though I doubt it's going to happen. It'd be funny as heck for ratings, let me tell you that much. It would be absolutely too funny to see that happen if that occurred. But I know it probably won't, but hey. A man can dream, can't he? A man most definitely can dream. What are you dreaming about right now in the sports world? Hit me up, let me know. Come on the livestream.com chat room. Always a ball. Fantastic stuff every Tuesday night. We keep it cracking here. As summer gets closer in the world and in Edmonton, we'll be great being able to do a show again wearing shorts. We'll be fantastic doing a show wearing shorts and not covered up in long jeans or wearing what other hot material pants you wear. Welding pants. Yeah, welding pants. Anyway, call into the show 714-627-9270 or email me at avery.lewismcdougall@gmail.com or hit up my Twitter at Avry, at AVRY. Let me know what's going down in your world. Let me know what you think is happening right now in the sports world. I want to hear your voices. And, sticking with basketball, the LA Clippers have a 2-0 series lead on the Memphis Grizzlies. Chris Paul last night, game-winning layup. The dude's a cold-blooded killer. He's cold-blooded, knocking off the Grizzlies in LA. This is not your father's LA Clippers team. They are a good team. They're a team that could have a run in this Western Conference. Wouldn't that be funny to see the Clippers in the NBA Finals? The team that was bad for decades, for generations. For when I first started watching the NBA, the Clippers were a punchline. They were something you made fun of. Not, ooh, what if the Clippers will make the playoffs? You laughed at that. It just didn't happen. Look at the LA Clippers seasons. The Clippers, I'm including the years they were the Buffalo Braves and playing in San Diego. They, for the most part, were awful basketball. They were not great. The Buffalo years, overall, were really their best years. They made the playoffs, even though they lost a few times to the Celtics and to the Bulls and the 76ers. Those years, they had great players like Adrian Dantley, Randy Smith, Bob McAdoo, Ernie DiGregorio, and they were constantly a team that would do well in the Atlantic Division, in the Eastern Conference. But for some reason, they couldn't get past the humble of Boston or Philly. They couldn't get past out of the second round as the Buffalo Braves. Of course, the first 3 years are garbage, with 3 straight 60-loss seasons to start their NBA life. And then they had 3 years of making the playoffs, led by Bob McAdoo. And then there were just years of garbage. From 1976 to 1991, they did not make the playoffs. That is almost 20 years of garbage basketball. Their standings as Buffalo, when they were in Buffalo, last in the division. And then literally 4 years of being dead last as the Clippers in San Diego. 4 years of being in dead last. There were some years where it was just some awful basketball. Rock bottom was 86-87 when they had 12 wins and 70 losses. Winning percentage of 146. Actually, no, you could even argue that the lockout year in 98-99 was rock bottom when they only won 9 games and went 9-41 and finished 13th place in the Western Conference. You are going to say, wow, there was someone crappier than them? Yeah, the Grizzlies, who went 8-42. I mean, there have been a lot of years, like, as a franchise, they've only made they've been in the NBA for over 40 years, and they've only made the playoffs 6 times. Sorry, 9 times in 43 years. That is awful. That's not even a pass. That's what I would get in a math score. 9 out of 43. I would get that on my test when I was doing high school math. Just garbage. And this is the first time since the 70s that they've made back-to-back playoffs. They made it last year and lost to the Spurs in the conference semifinals. They were swept by San Antonio, and now they're back again. The first time since they were the Buffalo Braves, they made it to back-to-back playoff series, or back to playoffs in back-to-back years. That tells you there's been a lot of ineptness among this franchise, which has been owned by the incompetent one himself, Donald Sterling, who I am honestly shocked the NBA hasn't told, listen, dude, you gotta sell this franchise. Because Donald Sterling has said some racist things, done some really offensive things, put his team at a loss, made his team worse, drove Elgin Baylor out as the GM, basically, because they are that pathetic. I mean, they've been a team that was, for a long time, were just horribly bad. And there's the occasional years in the 90s when they made the playoffs, like 91, 92. They made the playoffs and lost. They lost the first round to the Jazz 3-2. Back when the first round was a best of 5 series. Oh, sorry, what am I saying? They made the playoffs back-to-back years, 91, 92, 92, 93. And they lost in the first round to the Jazz and then the Rockets. And then, 96, 97, back in the playoffs and lost to the Jazz in the first round. And they were in, think about how mind-boggling this is now. They were in the playoffs in the Western Conference as an 8-seed team, 10 games under 500. There's no way now today's NBA in the Western Conference, you're a playoff team 10 games under 500. There's no way that happens. There was a different era back then, a different time for parity in the NBA, when the West was slightly weaker than the East. I know, strange, huh? Oh boy, that's funny times. When we come back, we'll talk about the Boston Celtics and New York Knicks game 1. The Knicks, hungrier than Boston. Jason Kidd drained some serious three-ball. Carmelo Anthony went off on this team. Hey, and congrats to the Knicks. J.R. Smith named 6th Man of the Year. Good for him. Had a great year. Had the most bench points. Came off the bench this season. An average 18.8 points per game. Great stuff. Oh, we haven't even talked about the Oilers much yet. We'll get into that. The Oilers. Done. Losing back-to-back games to the Anaheim Ducks at home. Yay! Anyway, so much more to come. This is Avry Sports Show, the webcast on livestream.com/AverySports. Come back for more, Earthlings.